Hey everyone, back here with RCB's squad preview for the 2025 IPL. This was actually voted the most popular squad for me to preview, so plenty to chat about, and that's why it's the first video preview on this channel for the new season coming up on Saturday. So RCB, where do we even start? Look, we don't really know. There's a few options as to what they're going to do with this team combo. Padikal probably will come in if they're batting. But if he doesn't, they've got a really, really right-hander heavy top six, and that's a potential massive concern, particularly when we dig into their numbers against left arm orthodox and leg spin, which is spin turning away from the right hander. Just that one solitary left hander with Krunal, and then potentially with Padikal as well. But the thing is that those two left handers are not particularly strong against spin. So even if we do inject them into the 11 or move Krunal up, which some people have discussed, to try and make some right left combos, it's still not a great matchup for them against opposition spinners who turn the ball away from the right hander. So look, that's a major problem I think with this lineup construction to start with, and I think for me a sizable red flag actually when it comes to looking at their batting order construction. Now, the other option for them is to bring in Jacob Bethel for Tim David, perhaps slide him up to above Liam Livingstone. Bethel's an excellent non-boundary run producer, has a lot of power despite a relatively small frame, and an amazing fielder, and can potentially contribute a touch of left arm orthodox, but I think Krunal Pandya has that covered anyway, so it's probably not going to be much of a bowling option for Jacob Bethel in this RCB team. So, what we also see for this, if the potential structure is that they've got a lot of fast bowlers, but lacking in spinners. So Krunal will bowl four, I reckon, most of the time, particularly at Chinnaswamy, which I think that they've got him in as a defensive spinner, which makes sense given the dimensions and the dynamics of the Chinnaswamy. Livy, with his leg spin against right-handers and off-spin against left-handers, potentially can contribute some matchup overs as well. And then they might use the impact sub option, bringing in the all-round skid of Swapnil Singh or the leg spin of CS Sharma, which I expect probably is going to be quite a regular option for them. So, look, I think this is a team based on the right-hand heaviness, the lack of spinners, the lack of prowess against this spin generally. This is a team that I think could struggle on bowler-friendly pitches and potentially pitches that take a lot of spin. On flat pitches where you can go pace heavy and look to hit, this is a squad that probably will do better in those conditions instead. And maybe that's what they're trying to do, trying to assemble with a view to playing at Chinnaswamy, where they're going to try and maybe create flat pitches and just try and to out-hit the opposition. And you can see that that's definitely possible. I mean, you've got Saul, you've got Patidar, you've got Tim David, all with strike rates over 150 in the last couple of years. Generally low-ish balls per dismissal apart from Kohli and Patidar, and then Krunal kind of playing this weird kind of defensive role where he doesn't really hit sixes, doesn't really hit a great deal of boundaries, which kind of sticks around, and that's I think a disappointment for me in terms of how he's evolved over the years, because I think he's a better player than that. But he's almost like kind of just an extra depth player here with these numbers, and I'd like to see him push up to 140, 17, 18% boundaries needed for that. And I think he could do that, but he definitely needs to take that into hand and nudge that strike rate up to, say, 20 more. Against pace, as I said earlier, this is a strong hitting team. You can see here 5 players above 150, Jitesh just a shade under 150. But look at the balls per dismissal. Patidar, Jitesh, Liam Livingstone, relatively low balls per dismissal. Kohli's high, excellent player of pace. But But look, this is a team who's not going to die wondering. I think this is a team that's going to try and out hit the opposition, and if they do so, then good on them. They're going to win matches. If they don't, then they could fall in a heap. And against spin, a lot of this is going to be on Patidar to hit and Kohli to sort of dig in really and look to form a sort of fulcrum for everyone to bat around. I think that looking at these numbers here and looking at the backup numbers as well, Padikal particularly, quite poor numbers against these spin bowlers here, left arm orthodox and leg spin. He should be better than that as a left-hander, and that's a concern too. So I think this is a team who are ripe to be exploited by opposition spinners, and I expect opposition teams to go pretty spin heavy against them as this tournament progresses. Going through the phases in the power play, Salt and Kohli and Patidar will look to get them off to strong starts. Where Padikal fits in is a debate that we're going to talk about shortly. Middle overs is okay. Patidar, Salt, if he's still in by this point, but he's usually kind of doesn't bat a lot in the middle overs. He usually goes like a train in the power play, which has its risks. Kohli, again, showing that with 34 balls per dismissal, 131 strike rate, that fulcrum that everyone bats around. And then at the death, they've got some really strong death hitters. You can see here, top 6, all with a death strike rate of well over 170, and in some cases 200 plus. And that's the problem here, is that they've got to earn the right to be still in at the death to be able to hit at the death. They all look like that's the low balls per dismissal. That's definitely not a given for sure. So a lot to think about with their batting group. Now with their bowling group, gone pace heavy. I expect them to do that this year. Potentially they could bring in the spinner to say as an impact sub, or if they're bowling first, start them and then bring them off. Power play looks good. Boothie and Hazelwood are excellent operators in the power play, so I'd expect them to have a really positive start with the ball in the power play. Middle overs, it's going to be spin from Crinal, a little bit of spin from Livingston, and potentially the odd bits of middle overs from Yash Dayal or Josh Hazelwood. And then at the death is a little concern for me. Rashid Salam, these decent numbers, but from a small sample size. Hazelwood hasn't really taken many wickets at the death. Boovy's been pretty expensive. Yash Dayal's been pretty expensive. So actually, at the death, that maybe is a little bit of concern. And you can see here how this translates into the options for their bowling distribution over the 20 overs in different phases. So why did I choose this particular team combo for RCB? Basically, just because I think that's what they'll do with maybe Padikal in when they're batting to take advantage of the impact sub rule. There's definitely for me a temptation to fit in Bethel for Tim David, because I think that he really, really helps with the balance of this squad, Jacob Bethel, with a left-handed batter, strong non-boundary run producer who can hit, and a fantastic fielder as well. That would be a temptation for me. You could also potentially look at this 11 with Padikal as an impact sub, but then swapping out Yash Dayal and bringing in C.S. Sharma's leg spin as well. That's another option for them in terms of team combos. So, yeah, plenty for Andy Flower and the think tank at RCB to consider in terms of team combos going into the season. Some Twitter questions that I got about RCB, commonplace talking points from these questions. How will a lack of spinners affect them? I think it's a major issue, and I'm really surprised that they didn't change that after a tough 2024 season with their spin bowling as well. I thought that would be a work on for them, and they haven't really done it. Unless C.S. Sharma really evolves and has a fantastic season for them. Can Devdutt Padikal bat at 3? Well, I think these spin numbers here against left arm orthodox and leg spin show that that's a real struggle for him. He also has pretty mediocre numbers in the middle overs. So I think Padikal really if you're going to pick him, you're going to play him, you have to open him. But that really then has an impact on either Phil Salt, probably more Virat Kohli, having to drop down to 3, which I don't like. I think that this Salt Kohli opening duo is potentially one of the real shining lights of this RCB squad, and I think it would be a shame to try and break that up. But then how do you fit Padikal in? How do you fit another batter into this group? There's a lot of questions to ask. And I think that this actually is a byproduct of some interesting auction decisions. Can Romario, Shepherd or Nuwan Tishara get game time? Look, I think it's going to be pretty tough for them, actually, because you can see that I think Hazelwood, Salt, Livingston probably pretty much likely to start the majority of games. Tim David probably has the stature to start the tournament. Let's see how he gets on. But I think that also he's pretty well suited to Chinnaswamy as well, so that's another consideration. So I think it's tough for another overseas pacer in Tishara or an all-rounder in Shepherd to get game time. And the final talking point was, should Quinnell bat higher at the order? We kind of addressed that already. I think it would be a questionable decision. Potentially the only benefit it could be is to delay the entry points of Livingston, Tim David and Jitesh Sharma, which I can understand. But I think this is more from if you're going to move him up the order, it's probably more from a facilitating others perspective rather than trying to look to use Quinnell's strengths in that position. But yeah, certainly a worthy discussion. My player in focus for this squad over the season is going to be Rajat Patidar, because how will he perform under the added pressure of captaincy is something that we don't know yet. I was quite surprised he was made captain. I thought they would try and persuade Kohli to take it back on again, but it didn't happen. So new captain for RCB, and Patidar is going to be taking the reins there. And look, let's see how that affects his run scoring over the season. The strengths of this squad I've got down as boundary hitting and 6 hitting in general, a top 6 capable of performing at Chinnaswamy, which I think is really important. They've got to try and own their home venue. If they can get 5 wins out of the 7 home games in the group stages, I think that would be an excellent return. They're strong against pace bowling with their batting group, and that Salt Kohli opening duo that I referred to already. Death hitting is good, but they've got to earn the right. That's with the caveat of saying that they've got to have wickets in hand by that point. And then the Bhuvaneshwar Hazelwood power play bowling, I think, is a positive for them too. The weaknesses of this squad: lack of left-handers, so quite a predictable batting lineup as well. A lot of right-handers, a lot of pace hitters, and a lot of guys who probably want to try and hit the death. I think they've got potential batting issue against spin-heavy opposition teams, as we referred to, particularly in the middle overs. This is an 11 that I think could be quite tied down against opposition spinners. We've spoken about the Padikal opening versus number 3 versus not playing debate. Real tough one for me. They've also, as mentioned, no proven next spinner. I think Jitesh Sharma has good potential, but he's not really a proven quantity at this level yet. So there's a few question marks about their leg spin options. Obviously, Livy can contribute, but that's more of like probably 2 overs a game rather than 4. And that lack of spin options hasn't been addressed recruitment-wise after last year, which is when they didn't really have much of a special spinner either. And then potentially a question mark over the death bowling as well. But I think this is. I was quite bullish about RCB when after the auction, but I'm not so sure now. I'm leaning towards a little bit of a struggle. They might sneak in 4th like they did last year, but I've got them down at around 6th-ish, I think, for the season. I would be relatively surprised if they're fighting for first or second in the group stages with this squad right now. So I hope you enjoyed the preview. If you're an RCB fan, share it with your friends. If your friends are RCB fans, definitely share it with them. It'd be great to hear your views in the comments, and don't forget, like and subscribe. Please do that. Show your support, because the more subscribers we get, the more likes I get, the more I'm going to be inspired to do more content. So I hope you enjoyed the video. It'd be great to hear from you, as I said, in the comments. Speak soon.